am about to go on a trip and I really could be recording other things, but after having to wait like a week since episode 8, I was like, I gotta see TRIGUN STARGAZE episode 9. It's gotta happen. It's gotta happen. So last week we did a lot of discussion about the connections to Maximum, about Razlo and Livio, about Wolfwood nearly dying, the fake out of the century, and thank God he's not dead, and just vampire AUs were sprouting up everywhere. It's been a great time. It's been a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed episode 8. The rule of 8 did not let us down, but now that we're on episode 9, we have 4 episodes left of this season, and I'm very curious to see how we're going to be framing the final bout with knives as we are getting closer to the other ships out in outer space coming to rescue, supposedly, all the people from this planet. There's a lot going on, and I'm going to be very curious to see how these next 4 episodes handle all of that. So that's going to be really cool to see. But I don't have any comments that I want to necessarily talk about. There have been some comments over on YouTube and Patreon, so thank you. Really appreciate that. I am going to give a little bit of time to thank Patreon, but if you are not on Patreon and you get to go check out my Patreon, please do so. If you cannot afford to be a patron member, I understand, but please do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also comment down below and let me know what you think about the series. I want to know and talk to y'all, especially because this is like the one series on my channel I can't be spoiled for because I've watched all the adaptations, so it's like the one series on my channel that I can actually talk about without worry of spoilers, so it's a fun time. But I do want to give a shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon, as well as our commission tier, because those people throw me some extra bones each month, and I am super, super, super grateful for all of their support. So to Alex Cornejo, to Alexandra Q, to Be Happy, to Dana, to Damage3245, to Daniel, to Devorin, to Destiny Marie, to Diana Williams, to Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, James, L. Freya, Lou Genesis, Lyndon Murphy, Rast, Rose Jennison, as well as Sunspots, Translucent Men, Shimoyama, Zero Anti-Zero, Nicholas, Sean, and Jason N. Thank you all so very much for all of your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. So yeah, it's been a lot happening in the last week since I've watched episode 8. I had the flu. I got somewhat better than the flu. I still have this stupid little cough, and I'm ready to watch TRIGUN STARGAZE and see what all is going on. Also, there's been a heat wave come through, so it is like sweltering hot now in my neck of the woods. So what can we do? But yeah, so with any case, we are going to start episode 9 of TRIGUN STARGAZE and see what we get. So excited. And we're going to be doing that here in 3, 2, 1, and I'll see you all on the other side. This was a setup episode, but I really liked the setup of this. This was a lot of fun, especially building up ideas of, like, what do we do with knives? The question to end all questions, what do we do with knives? That has been the question of Trigun since the dawn of time, because Knives is just this force. It's like, what do we do with him? And depending on which version you watch, they handle things in very different ways. So I'm going to be curious to see what Stargaze does, but I'm pretty hopeful that it's going to be interesting. So let's go ahead and start out our episode with our screenshots here in 3, 2, 1. The idea that we may not get the fleet showing up until the very, very end of the season is interesting to me. We talked a little bit about the spoiler corner, about some possibilities with what could happen afterwards, after Stargaze is done. I don't know if they will go about those routes or not. We'll talk a little bit more, I guess, in the spoiler corner when we get to the end of this episode with it. But I do like the idea of us maybe trying to solve the problem with knives before they get here. To minimize collateral, if anything. So there's that. That's interesting. The fact that we start out the episode with them saying, yeah, we got room for everybody. We're going to be entering your orbit very soon. And there's just like all of these ships with all of these plants. And while that sounds really great, we can go pick everybody up from no man's land. All of these plants that we see in all these ships are just fodder for knives. And there is a part of me that's like, yeah, if we could figure out the whole knives thing and get that solved before you all get here, that'd be great. Like, let's just do that, right? So it seems anticlimactic, but I've read Maximum and I know how crazy things get. So sure, let's solve this problem before we even get to it. All right, so let's get past the intro and get into this, where we don't really get knives in this episode. We just get the promise that he has that he is going to destroy all of the fleet ships coming in, destroy the hope of everyone on no man's land, and take all the plants for himself. So I talked about it in the OP. Someone in the comments had talked about how knives is not really present in this season, and I do agree. If I were to critique, I did think episode 7 was amazing. Like, the conversation between Knives and Vash in episode 7 was wonderful. But you could definitely tell the first 4 or 5 episodes were just bringing him back. And, I mean, other than the Mid-Valley flashback, we didn't get a lot with Knives. And now that he is back, he's all consuming on all the plants. But, like I said in the OP, if you've read Maximum, it's not too different. Knives is pretty much in the similar boat in Maximum as well, and it's mainly just the fight to get to him. Whereas I feel like in the 98 anime, it's more like Stampede, where he's more present and causing a muck and causing a scene. So I feel it's apples and oranges. Yeah, we could have Knives more in the picture, but then in the same vein, it's like, I feel like Naito runs the problem of, what do I do with Knives? Because he's the opposite of Vash, but if I'm not killing everybody every 5 minutes, what do I do with his character? So the bigger question becomes, what is Vash going to do to take care of Knives? And I like that Wolfwood's like, how are you going to do that? I'm also glad Wolfwood has slowly gotten a little bit better over the course of this episode, because when he came out with that crutch, I was like, ooh. I was like, I don't know how I feel about Wolfwood fighting the rest of this series when he looks like he's pretty down and out. And then Mid-Valley and Emilio give him all of the serums, and it's like, okay, well then we have we have the potential to bring Wolfwood back to a fighting state for this final battle, so that's good. So Melanie is the orphanage, the woman that runs the orphanage. We find out her name is Melanie. I think that was her name in the manga. I had forgotten. But Octavern was somehow able to repel the Ark's attacks, and that's where everybody has gone to. Word has gotten out that the city will protect the people, and that's where everybody's decided to venture towards as a sanctuary. I will say, I do want to talk about how the little tents and all the little setups of the houses outside of Octavern, I like the cultural variants of all of them. There's kind of like a Middle Eastern look to all of the tents and stuff, which I think is really cool. I love all the different designs. I love the different setups. Like, I think that visually that's a really cool little shot there with all of this going on. And so Nai is going to go to Octavern. What are we going to do? And Vash is like, I have ideas. I have concepts of a plan to stop Knives. And Wolfwood's like, well, we need to hear those concepts of a plan if we're going to do anything. So it's like, yeah. Here's the thing. Knives is such a conundrum. It's like, the obvious answer is to destroy him, to keep him from destroying you. But Vash is like, that's kind of not my MO. I'm kind of about letting people live and then rehabilitating. So then the question is, how does one do that with Knives? So that is indeed the question of the hour. Can we also talk about Livio? Can we just stop what we're doing? Can we stop everything and talk about Livio for a hot second? I freaking love it. I love it. I love everything about this. I love that Livio has one of Wolfwood's spare blazers that he's wearing this skin tight, looking like a freaking Calvin Klein model walking out here wearing a skin tight white t-shirt because can't get too fan servicey, with the jeans and the belt and the ends of the jeans are tore up. I'm like, Okay. Like, Livio looks amazing. He looks so freaking good. And his attitude. Like, look, I talked about the spoiler corner last episode. I'm not going to get into the content of the spoiler corner except to say, in Maximum, when Livio comes around, this is the personality that he has. And seeing his sweet crybaby Livio, his sweet friendly persona in the flesh in this anime is just... I love it. I love it so much. It's so freaking good. Everything about Livio is just like checkbox, checkbox, checkbox. Love it. Freaking love it so much. And so they decide that everything in the town is a ghost town. They could stay there for about a week, but that's about all the food and water that they've got. Otherwise, they're going to have to either starve or figure out what to do after that. So they're like, where could we go? And I agree with Wolfwood. Taking the kids to Octavern is a very bad idea because if Knives is going there with the Ark, it's just going to make them a liability. So it's like, where do we go to from here? And then Vash is like, well, we could take them back to the home ship. They could be protected by Luita and the others. And they're like, we could just ask if she'll accept the kids. We could get there in 3 or 4 days by motorcycle. Okay, so they did lay out how long it was going to take to get there. I will say, I do feel bad that Livio has cut his beautiful long hair and it's all chopped off, but it does fit his personality really well. It really does. Will that give us enough time to deal with Knives? And Vash brings up a great point. We do have a time frame on our hands because Knives is not going to want to destroy everybody until the fleet shows up and he can take all the plants from the fleet. That's the point. So Vash is like, we've got some time to kill because Knives is just grafting plants right now and getting everybody gathered at Octavern so they can be easily disposed of when he's ready. And so he's like, we've got some time we can play with, right? He's like, and then we can make for Octavern, I think. But yeah, they don't have a lot of options. Okay, this whole thing with the motorcycle was really funny. I love the idea that Vash is like, I've got this. And we're like, wait a minute. Has Vash ever ridden a motorcycle in his life? No, he has not, in fact. And they're like, you dumbass, you can't drive? He's like, well, I've never tried it before. I love that Livio's like, are you all right? Amazing. And Livio's like, well, let me go. Because, Nicholas is in too bad a shape. He's like, I know where home is now. I love that these kids, he's like, oh, thank you, Aunt Melanie. He's so sweet, little Livio. And so, yeah, he takes off immediately. I love his boots. I love everything about his appearance. And then he's like, I love that he's like, the morbid humor of his body being completely, because Vash is a plant. Vash is an alien. So it's fine that he's okay. But like his bones being all crushed and everything, like a damn rag doll. He's like, oh, I'll fix myself up in no time. There is a morbid humor to that is so funny and very Naito. I freaking loved it. And all the kids and stuff are like, I love the kids are like, oh my God. And Vash and Wolfwood are like, yeah, we're all just a bunch of freaks. It's okay. That's amazing. He's like, see, good as new. As he takes his 2 Punishers, he's like, and I'm off. But bless his heart. Livio is such like a walking disaster that I love they captured the essence of his disasterness in this episode. That was so funny. But yeah. So they're like, I hope he didn't get chased by a pack of desert worms. And they're down to the last couple of days of food. This was really sweet. This scene here where they're like imagining the ship coming to get them. I'm sorry, but Wolfwood looks like a grandpa in this scene with his white hair. Like he just looks like a grandpa looking after the kids. It was so endearing. It was so heartbreaking and so cute. I was like, no, I don't like the idea of his cells like aging rapidly. And he's basically a grandpa at this point. Like him and Vash are catching up in terms of being old men. And I'm like, no, hate it. But it's so sweet. Yeah. And trying to figure out where the stars are. And then Vash, I like Vash points out where the stars are too. And then he decides to come and sit by them. It was really sweet. Like, I loved that. And so he's like, well, I've never been to Earth either. And he gets to talk about Rim. There's very rare occasion when Vash gets to talk about his family. And so he gets to talk about his twin brother and bring him up. And then when the kids ask if he has any other family, he's like, well, I don't really know about the plant side of it, but Rim Severim is my mom. She's the one that took care of me. And even Wolfwood's like, I've never really heard this guy talk about much. Rim was kind and taught me many things. And then we get the blank ticket with no destination. Everyone has a blank ticket to cash in and go wherever they want. I love that. I also love, whenever she's telling Vash this, you can see Knives over on the side. Knives is like, Knives doesn't really want to believe it. He's just like, what? You can tell he's kind of he's listening and paying attention, and he's kind of in awe too, despite himself. But all the kids get the little blank ticket, and Vash is like, with this, you can go anywhere and be anything. As long as you have your ticket, you can endure any hardship. And he's like, just as I have. And when you look over, you see the kids all looking at their blank ticket. And then he's like, remember to take good care of it. And then you see Wolfwood holding, he wanted a ticket too, damn it. Vash, give him a ticket. Like him doing the same thing. It was really sad. I was like, son of a bitch. That was really sad. So yeah. So we cut back to the ship. They think that Vash has come back, and then instead it is Livio, who is, in fact, as one would imagine, a walking disaster. I do love the continuity of him having the dirt and stuff all over his coat. Livio is also a giant man, a giant-ass man, who looks mighty fine in his civilian clothes. Yep. So he's like, yeah, I didn't have to sleep, because I'm kind of experimented on, so superhuman. Should have normally taken me 3 days, but I love that these guys keep making cameos. They just keep interrupting, and shows him fighting them off. Then he gets lost, which is hilarious. The fact that he can't ride the motorcycle as well. And then he gets eaten by a demigorgon. So that was fun. That was a fun time. Eaten by a demigorgon. Then he just had the map upside down. Bless his heart. I like that Emilio and Mid-Valley are listening, and they're like, did Double Fang come to kill us? Are we good? It's great. So then Luita's like, look, we're not going to have your orphanage kids get on the ship. We're going to drop off some of our supplies and our people on Hopeland's campus turf. And that way, when we go fight Knives, we're not getting everybody in the way. Yeah, Luita's like, I got a plan. So, also I love whenever the ship shows up and Vash stands up, Vash's little scrawny chicken legs. Bless his heart. Also, the way that Wolfwood is standing in the doorway, the way he's standing there with his hand on his hip, that's a really good shot. I like that too. So yeah, everybody shows up. Jessica's all mad at Vash, girl. And then Meryl and Millie are glad to see him. And they're like, what's going on? What happened to your hair? He's like, I got a makeover. And that's when Livio's like, well, I caused him a lot of stress. And Wolfwood's like, let's not talk about it. He's like, I'm just, more or less fine. I just nearly died. That's all. I love that. I'm surprised they didn't get onto him for smoking a cigarette when he's like, I just nearly died. That's all. Love that. And he's like, I can't die. I've got to protect these kids. It's the exact opposite of F these kids. Protect these kids. Love that. So everybody's dropping off everything. And Luita's like, look, it's too dangerous to keep the kids aboard. So we're just going to have them all camp out here while we're battling Knives. Seems legit. Let the kids and the non-combatants off the ship. Yep, we brought lots of food and water, so we should be fine for a while. I like that Emilio and Mid-Valley are like, oh yeah, we're non-combatants. We got to teach the kids music and do puppet shows. And Vash is like, really? Really, you sure? Love it. I love that shot where Wolfwood's like, are you kidding? And Vash is like, that's sweet. So, Meryl's getting the van all picked up. Roberta would be proud of our girl Meryl. Roberta would be super proud. And then The whole thing with Millie and the worms is a weird addition. I don't remember this being in the manga. It's a weird addition. Can Millie and Zazie be best friends? Can we have that, please? But the idea of Millie's family being worm tamers is... it gives a very Dick Grayson Robin vibe to it. I'm not going to lie, but I'm not opposed to it. They're all near Octavern, so that's a bit worrying. I don't understand the worms, but there's just something that comes across to me like a convergence. Yeah. So like a vibe, like a little telepathic vibe, because they're all about the hive mind. Now, maybe my favorite scene in the whole episode is this with Vash taking the bullets. This is maybe my favorite scene, where he concentrates all of his plant power into the bullets and makes them into like a special kind with like the plant core in them. Yep. And not just that, but each time he does that with the bullets, it shows his hair slowly turning more and more black. Mm-hmm. Like it's slowly peeking around. Yep. And then that's when Wolfwood and Livio come out. Yeah, and even he's got the little sprig of black on the top of his hair. Mm-hmm. To me, that's so interesting because Vash is usually like, I'm not going to kill anybody. So the fact that he's preparing these bullets to possibly do damage means that he's very serious about what is about to go down with Knives. So Wolfwood's like, okay, what are we doing? What is happening with Knives? Because that's the big question. And Vash is like, well, I'll convince him to stop. And Wolfwood's like, you can't be serious because we know that's not going to work. He's not going to listen. And he's like, I am serious. But if I can't convince him, then what? He's like, I can access the plant cores. So Nye is a plant, so I should be able to access his, I think. I mean, Vash is like, look, back in July, he was trying to access my plant core to help him. So theoretically, the opposite should hold true and I should be able to reach him. And Wolfwood's like, okay, well then what? He's like, my power as a plant is to take away. And I can get a hold of the plants that Nye has taken in and take them away. So essentially, Vash is like, I can just drain Knives of all the plant power he's taken and leave him back as himself. Vash is like, I don't want to do that, but if it comes down to it, I could. Without the power of the plants, there's no way Nye could take down the whole fleet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that sounds good in theory. It's not going to be that easy. And Wolfwood brings up a good point. He's like, you know, we already lost July. If we go to Octavern and have something similar happen, that's not going to be pleasant. And that's when, yeah, you wipe them out. We're talking about the worst ending. Yeah, basically. And he's like, I know that's, you know, just to be safe, I want the Ark and I want Knives as far away from possible from Octavern. And that's when Meryl, I get why they showed Millie with the worm now, because the whole resonance thing needed time to sit and ruminate with Meryl. And then she got it. She's like, it's resonance. She's like, you can resonate with the plants. If you're a plant, you can tell Knives wherever you are. And then he's like, yeah, I could maybe do that. We could finish this without waiting for the immigrant fleet to arrive or having to go to Octavern. I like that. I appreciate this idea that we're not going to go where all the collateral damage is. We're not going to do July 2.0, that we're possibly going to go into a place where it's on their terms and lure Knives to them. That's a fun time. That's an interesting concept. I like that. So even if I could tell where Knives is at, will he come? And Wolfwood's like, oh, he's going to come and show up. He wants you and he needs you to complete his mission. So he's going to show up. And also, big brothers always want to keep their little brothers close. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Livio's like, oh, well, hey, Wolfwood. I love that. I love Livio's like, oh, hey, Nico, that was really nice of you to say. And Meryl and Millie are like, really? And he's like, no, you dumbass. I wasn't talking about you. You don't get shit. Where will it be? Where do we want to lure him? And he's like, there's a good spot and a place to settle this. Okay, High Noon, where are we meeting at? They don't really tell us. Vash is just like, I know where we can go. So yeah, so then we have this rock, paper, scissors, which is adorable, between Livio and Wolfwood. And it's basically Livio getting access to the motorcycle. And Wolfwood has to ride in the vehicle with the others, which, I mean, makes sense. So yeah, all the kids see them off. And then there's Mid-Valley and Emilio. And they give Wolfwood what they've got left. It's better than nothing. The future is in your hands. I like to call him Nicholas D. Wolfwood. Aww. It's great. Love it. I like he's like, thank you for letting us live. That's the thing. Wolfwood didn't expect to get the medicine from them, and then them telling Vash thank you for letting them live, like basically reinforcing the fact that what he decided to do was a good thing. You still have a promise to fulfill. Like, our sweet bean, he looks so good there. I hate that he has the little black streak in the middle of his hair. So yeah, so everybody sees them off. I love that we have the four. I do agree with Vash that he's like, you know, you guys are in danger by being with us, but I understand you wanted to come along and see it through. Also, it's our love square. We have to have them present for this, right? And if I think what's about to happen is going to happen, we need them present to test Vash as well. We'll talk about that in the spoiler corner, though. But yeah, so he looks so good there. I love the orange glasses and how he looks there. Wonderful. So yeah, and he's like, it's nothing. I want to promise me one thing. Don't get into anything dangerous. And they're like, well, we've got to have this record, you know. And then, yeah, the good luck with all the pieces of paper and everything. I do like the idea of Emilio and Mid-Valley staying with the kids. At first, I was like, well, wouldn't they be needed to show up and help out? But they kind of need somebody to fall back and help protect the kids in case if, you know, Knives decides to attack. So that makes sense. But I love this. I love the pieces of paper falling down where they're like, come back in one piece and take care. And they all see like, to see the white confetti come down and Wolfwood gets to watch it. Oh, so good. So good. Love that. But yeah, let me go back to look at this concept art here. This concept art that we get to see. What the fudge is this? This little baby with like the Oculus and stuff. That's messed up. That's messed up. There's Gauntlet. Is that supposed to be a baby Gauntlet before? And then, yep, the home base, Knives and Vash, this giant Demogorgon looking worm, Zazzy, I miss Zazzy, and yeah, kill me, kill a human, oh, bitch, look at the concept art, oh my gosh, of Legato, with the coat, and that looking skeleton looking thing. What the fudge? What is that? That's so messed up. That's so messed up. Martyr. Okay. Okay. I have thoughts. I have thoughts about that, but I want to talk about it in the spoiler corner. So, I was relatively surprised. When I saw this episode was going to be called Reunion, I didn't know what to expect out of it, and it's basically to set up what we're going to do. So I want to talk about Knives and the spoiler corner, and I want to talk about Legato as well and what I think is going to happen next week. So if you're not sticking around for the spoiler corner, then I hope you enjoyed this reaction and discussion. Livio is just checking off all the boxes for me, and I'm loving every second of it. So yay raw. But in any case, I hope you all enjoy this reaction, this discussion. I hope you stick around for the spoiler corner, and if not, then I'll see you all here soon with episode 10 of Trigun Stargaze. But in the meantime, we need to talk about the spoiler corner. So, maximum in terms of what we do, the question of what do we do with Knives is the big question, because in the 1998 version, the answer was that Vash defeats him and supposedly carries him on his back to hang out with Meryl and Millie and gonna rehabilitate him. So honestly, if you had that happen in this version, it wouldn't be too unlike the 1998 version. In the manga, it's really just kind of like getting Knives back to square one and proving to him that Vash is stronger than him and that Vash is going to keep him in check. And I could see that happening in this series as well. I've always felt that that Naito had a hard time sticking the landing with what do you do with Knives? Because Knives is so powerful, he's so vicious, and he's so cruel that how do you justify him getting rehabilitated in a way that doesn't feel cheap? Because, I mean, and this series has done a good job Stargaze has done a good job of showing with Mid-Valley, with Emilio, with Livio, that you can be rehabilitated. Now with Legato, I don't know. Legato has a death wish. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I do think that there is a question of what do we do with Knives. And I'm going to be very curious to see what we're going to get out of Vash in that. Now, with that being said, is Knives, are we going to finish the entire series by episode 12 or are we going to get a movie afterwards? I don't know. I honestly, it seems kind of anticlimactic to face Knives and get him taken care of before the fleet even gets here. And it seems like that would forego a lot of what happened in Maximum, but I'm not opposed to that happening. I like the idea of not making Octavern July 2.0. I like that idea. Let's not redo that over again. Even though it does create stakes by everybody conveniently being in this one location, except for the orphans and stuff here where Hopeland is. But then it's like, okay, well, if it doesn't work out and they can't stop Knives and then the fleet shows up, then it's going to be a whole thing. But if they can stop Knives before the fleet shows up, then we might just have a happy ending. And this is like, surprise, happy ending Trigun. It's a rare occurrence. So we'll have to see. I'm curious to know. I feel like next week is going to be about Legato, about them showing up and facing Legato, which we'll talk about here in a hot second. But one thing I do love is Livio. Livio is exactly how he is in the manga. Love his character now. He fights Alindira in the manga, and I don't know if they're going to give us that or not. Wouldn't be surprised if they gave us that. Alindira versus Livio. But I guess we'll just have to see. But I did like the levity of this episode. I loved anything involving Livio. That was adorable. The whole blank ticket and Wolfwood being like a damn grandpa was freaking adorable. Y'all, just so freaking cute. Oh my god. So adorable. But loved that. And yeah, just setting all of this up to get ready and see where it all goes to. I don't know what we're going to get with Zazzy. Zazzy, I felt like with Millie, they were setting some stuff up with the worms. I don't know what they're going to do with that. I need Zazzy and Millie to interact with one another. Don't know if we'll get that in the next 3 episodes. We only have 3 episodes left. And there's so much that can still be done. And I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what we're going to end up doing with this. If I'm being honest, there's a lot of options. And I don't know what exactly we're going to end up doing as far as Knives and the others go. But this was so cute. Now, I'm not joking. My favorite is Vash altering the bullets to be like the plant core bullets. I don't know what we're going to get with that. I don't know how those bullets are going to go against Knives. I don't know. I'm curious. It feels like those are all meant for Knives. I don't know exactly what we're going to do next week with Legato. Lots of questions. I mean, I do love the idea of Vash taking the plants from Knives, and liberating them. I do love that concept, so that's going to be interesting to see how it goes down, but looking at the concept art with freaking Legato, oh my god. I want to get to the concept art of him. That is insane. That giant, sarcophagus looking. Is this our sarcophagus? Is this what we're getting? Are we getting the sarcophagus with Legato next week? Are we doing it? Are we doing it? Are we getting sarcophagus Legato? Because he did get, Yamcha'd and shot all up in the back by Wolfwood. So is he going to be in that, exoskeleton? I need that in my life, please, and thank you. It looks like a worm. It's so crazy. Okay, my one thing is I wondered if Meryl and Millie were going with them, not only because it's, thematically and stuff for the show, but also if it's a plot point, because in the 1998 version, Legato threatens Meryl and Millie, and Legato threatening Meryl and Millie, what ends up happening is it forces Vash to kill Legato in the 1998 version, which is really dark and very sad. And so in Maximum, I don't think Vash necessarily kills Legato in Maximum. I think that Vash is one of the reasons that Legato dies, but Legato doesn't help himself very much in that scenario. So I don't know. You know that Legato is going to try to get Vash to kill him. That's part of his journey to try to make Vash miserable for Knives. So I feel like Martyr is going to be, Legato is going to martyr himself for Knives, because that's been his trajectory since the start of this series. Whether or not that goes in his favor next week or not, I don't know. Legato's the one character where I'm like, can he be rehabilitated? I don't know. He's kind of all in for Knives, so 'tis the question. But I'm so excited, and I hate that I have to wait a week before we see it. So, anyway, I can't believe we only have 3 episodes left. I really wish we had a movie afterwards. Really wish we did, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. So we're just going to have to wait and see, aren't we? Aren't we? But anyway, so I am super curious to know what your thoughts are down below, what you all thought of this episode, and what you all think about what's going to happen next week, because it's going to be interesting. But anyway, I hope you all have an amazing week. I'm excited. I hope you all stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon, y'all, with episode 10. Can't believe we're already there, of Trigun Stargaze, and we'll see what happens.